All right, let's do another flip through. Oh, sometimes I paint the covers of these. And just to show you what I start out with, I just got a new one. I get these smash books on Amazon, and they're already filled with scrapbook paper and whatnot. I usually end up painting over the scrapbook paper anyway, but I don't know. That's just what I've used. I'll probably start making my own soon, but that's what I've been using thus far. All right, here we go. I guess this was the fall, and after pressing leaves from our hike, I just Mod Podge them in here. And usually in the beginning of a journal, I'll just talk about like what's kind of my intentions for that time of my life. The boys were really into space. And this is a mural that's at the little school that we used to go to, this little play group at. This is Taters. I think they were about 2 here. It was his first like little person that looked like an actual person. So sometimes I'll keep the whole picture, but then other times I know I'm not going to frame 1,000 pictures that they drew, so I'll just take a little thing and just put it in my journal so I remember. And I asked him, "Who is that, Tate?" And he said, "That's Tate and my puddle." So that was this little puddle that he was jumping in because we went puddle hopping that day. Sometimes I just print off pictures from Pinterest or, I don't know, the internet. Pumpkin Patch Day. Finn was a baby. Oftentimes I'll just, if there's a lot of pictures from the day, like something like the pumpkin patch, I'll print out little ones, front and back, stick them in little pockets, and this oftentimes is the favorite part of the boys looking through these, is finding the little pockets and the little treasures. 2 high chairs, 1 extra saucer, tired mama, lots of coffee. All right, so this is an example of the way I use Smashbook. Like this was all this pattern, this whole page. So I just painted a face and then painted kind of around to make it look like her hair, and just did some art that way. Getting Daddy ready for a backpacking trip he was doing. I remember Dan's dad had come to visit. It was Pop T's birthday. He'd come to visit. And so he drew this little thing for the boys, and I stuck it in here so that they'd remember it. Happy birthday, Papa T. Sugar. Little face. So when people come into our lives, oftentimes I'll snap a picture and then I'll just write a little blurb about them. And I remember I shared this with her, and she wanted a copy of it too, so I think I gave her a copy. I can't remember. This is when they got their first little balance bikes and Star Wars helmets. 6 months old. Wrote about what he was into then. Painted a little bit. My mom sent us these old-fashioned little bags with some letters to the boys. And they're pictures of their little dogs. She knows that the boys just love really just opening up things like this. So this is just a way to keep those things. The boys read them over and over again. And I just think that if I didn't have this, it would just get stuck somewhere and they'd probably never look at it again. I guess I was painting a lot of girls during this time. And just journal on the back of a postcard that someone sent me. Went to go visit my parents for Halloween. So again, I have a bunch of little sweet pictures. This is just a picture of my mom's hutch. Something you would not usually even print out at all, but I just love looking at it and remember just these silly little times. And the way my mom decorates, just those are things that, I don't know, I just love remembering. And then we took the long way home that day and went and had coffee in Port Townsend, which was sweet. I've talked about post crossing before. I'm part of this little thing that I send postcards to people around the world and they send it back. And if you're interested, I highly recommend it. You should look it up. Post crossing. Lord Huron lyric. I was into Lord Huron. Still am. This is my grandma's pie crust recipe, which is delicious. The boys were helping me make pies or just mixing flour. This was a date night, and I remember this season of our life when the boys, 3 boys, all under the age of 3. So I remember writing all of these things of like what we're going to do someday. Like we'll have time to do all of these things, go to Thailand and Amsterdam and just like all these things. But that now I was just happy just going to our little local pub for a night and having our hot wings, and that's where we were, and it was just as good as all those things. We'll have time for all that later when we're in a bit of a different season. That little hand grabbing that leaf, my mantle. Just little details. Children's Museum. This is a song that one of my sons just loves. Being about a cheeseburger. And they were ketchup and mustard for their little school Halloween. I remember this was a big thing for a long time, is throwing rocks. Just all they wanted to do was throw rocks. And it's funny because now, I mean, it's been a couple of years since I did this journal, but now thinking back that we used to go to this particular beach all the time, and I haven't been there in years. Like we go to these other beaches now because this was more set up for like little kids, and so now it's so nice to have these little memories. Halloween, Nintendo. That was so fun. This is right when like Snapchat, well, I'm sure Snapchat was cool before this, but I had discovered it then. So we were playing with the little filters and they thought that was hysterical. Had a little date with Tate, sipping his little cocoa. And then I took Henry on a date the next day. We like to do that. This is an Eric Carle book that the boys loved, and I happened to find one at a thrift store for 50 cents, so I was able to cut it out and use a bunch of the illustrations and art and journals and stuff. And there's a little picture that Taters did of a ghost and a jack-o'-lantern. And they did some leaves at school with ink. Oh, this is a highlight of my life. I went to a Jane Davenport workshop at the Daniel Smith store in Seattle. This was the palette they gave us for free, and I was able to take an art class from her. A good day. This is actually a postcard, not from Postcarding, but actually from, my dad gave this to me. This is from when he was working far away and I was a baby, and he wrote it to my mom. And sometimes I just do sketches over book paper. Girls' night out to Port Townsend. Caps for sale. Who doesn't love that? Thinking about road trips, dreaming, writing down bucket list road trips that I wanted to take. Still want to take. We've done a couple of those now. Park Day. Friendsgiving. Tags for my favorite sweater that I've ever received. This is them about to turn 3. My dad sent them a letter. Just so sweet. Just little volcano from Papa Blackbeard is what he put on there. Tape painted pumpkin for me. Little pockets of pictures. It's fun to look through. I love this. This was from one of the Sark books. Question: how can I help my child keep his or her creativity alive? And the answer is by nourishing your own creative spirit. Draw on the walls, eat cake with no hands, keep the gleam in your own eye, and your children will absorb it like plants. It's true. This I know is true. A letter to myself. I remember finally, it sounds so silly, but finally being able to feel pretty again after having all these children. So I wrote a little letter. Ferns, flowers, succulents. Oh, this is a letter to my mom from my dad. Keep that forever. 7 months for Finnegan. Oh, every once in a while I'll just write random things like current obsession, Hanami Sushi, Mukilteo, and I put down my order that I always get when I do go there. New president, we don't need to talk about that too much, but we don't need to get into all that stuff. Just current events, things you want to look back on and remember. Squirrels. This is their birthday. Construction party. I made this cake for them. And then decorating for Christmas, and off we go. Until next time. Hope you get some inspiration and that you make your own. I'm going to do some workshops on how I create these another time.